Hello Army, welcome back to the channel, and if you are new here, welcome, because today we are taking a slight detour from the serious and the profound and the historically significant, and we are diving headfirst into something that is pure, unfiltered, chaotic, joyful BTS energy at its absolute finest. Today we are talking about a moment from the Arirang World Tour that went viral faster than almost anything else from the tour so far, that racked up 27,000 likes in a matter of hours, that had nearly 1,800 saves, which tells you people were not just watching it once and moving on, they were saving it to come back to again and again, and that has been described, perfectly and completely, as Jimin dancing in front of Jungkook like Hwasa's Goodbye. If you know, you know. If you do not know yet, you are about to know, and you are going to be very glad that you do. So let's get into it. Let me start by setting up some context, because to fully appreciate the genius and the chaos of this moment, you need to understand two separate things and then understand why putting them together in the same sentence is so perfectly, beautifully funny. The first thing is Hwasa and Goodbye. Hwasa is one of the most charismatic and most fearlessly self-assured performers in K-pop, a member of Mamamoo whose solo work and stage presence have made her one of the genre's most distinctive and most discussed artists. Goodbye is one of her most iconic performance moments, a performance characterized by an energy that is confident, bold, completely unapologetic, and specifically designed to make whoever is watching it feel a very particular kind of overwhelmed. If you have seen it, you understand exactly what I mean. If you have not, the short version is that Hwasa performing Goodbye is the energy of someone who knows exactly what effect they are having on their audience, who is choosing to deploy that effect at maximum capacity, and who is having an absolutely wonderful time doing it. The second thing you need to understand is Jungkook, specifically, Jungkook as a recipient of energy rather than a deployer of it. Because Jungkook is someone who is incredibly charismatic and incredibly powerful in his own performance mode, but who also has this wonderful quality of being genuinely, authentically responsive to the world around him. He is not someone who maintains a cool, detached exterior regardless of what is happening. He is someone who reacts, who shows what he feels, who lets the moment land on him visibly. And that quality, which is one of the most endearing things about him, becomes extraordinarily entertaining when the moment landing on him is Jimin in full Hwasa Goodbye energy dancing directly in front of his face. Because here is what happened. During the Arirang World Tour concert in question, Jimin apparently decided, in the way that Jimin sometimes decides things on stage that no one else could have predicted but that feel inevitable in retrospect, to bring that specific energy, that particular combination of confidence and playfulness and knowing exactly what he is doing, directly to Jungkook. On stage. In front of a full arena of screaming army. With cameras rolling and fancams capturing every second. And Jungkook, who was presumably not given advance notice that this was about to happen to him, reacted in the way that anyone who has been suddenly subjected to that level of intentional charisma at point-blank range would react, which is to say he had absolutely no idea what to do with himself. And the internet, naturally, lost its collective mind. The video that captured this moment went viral with a speed and a force that tells you everything about how it landed. 27,000 likes. Nearly 1,800 saves. Hundreds of comments. These are not the numbers of a nice moment that fans enjoyed. These are the numbers of a moment that genuinely surprised people, that made them laugh out loud or scream at their screens or both simultaneously, that created an immediate and overwhelming desire to share it with everyone they knew and to come back to it themselves. The Hwasa Goodbye comparison in the original post was not just a funny caption, it was a genuinely accurate description of the energy, which is why it resonated so instantly and so widely. Now let's talk about why this specific dynamic, Jimin being chaotic and unpredictable in a way that targets Jungkook specifically, is such a rich source of entertainment for ARMY, because there is a deep well of history here that makes this moment part of a larger and very beloved narrative. The relationship between Jimin and Jungkook, which ARMY affectionately knows as Jikook, has been one of the most consistently entertaining and most warmly regarded dynamics within BTS for the entire duration of the group's career. And a significant part of what makes it so entertaining is the very specific energy of how Jimin approaches Jungkook compared to how Jungkook tends to respond. Jimin, for all of his seriousness and his artistic depth and his profound commitment to his craft, is also genuinely and fundamentally playful, in a way that is most visible and most delightful when it is directed at the people he is most comfortable with. And with Jungkook, specifically, there has always been this quality of Jimin finding entertainment in surprising him, in pushing into his space, in deploying exactly the kind of energy that he knows will make Jungkook genuinely uncertain how to react. It is not teasing in a mean-spirited way. It is the specific kind of playfulness that exists between people who are deeply comfortable with each other, who have spent enough time together that they know exactly where the other person's buttons are and exactly how much fun it is to press them. Jungkook, for his part, brings the perfect complementary energy to this dynamic. He is someone who can command a stage with absolute authority, who has presence and charisma that fill arenas, who is by any measure a performer of the highest level. And yet when Jimin decides to deploy that particular brand of deliberate, pointed, playful chaos directly at him, Jungkook responds with this wonderful, endearing quality of genuine uncertainty, like someone who is very good at many things but has just been confronted with something that their considerable skills did not quite prepare them for. It is funny because it is real. It is not performed awkwardness for the cameras. It is actual, authentic Jungkook being actually uncertain what to do right now energy, and ARMY loves it so much precisely because of that authenticity. The Hwasa goodbye comparison specifically is so perfect because it captures not just the energy of what Jimin was doing but the implied dynamic of it. Hwasa's goodbye is a performance that is entirely about knowing exactly what you are doing to your audience and choosing to do it anyway, with full awareness, with full commitment, and with a quality of enjoyment that makes the whole thing even more overwhelming. When Jimin brings that energy to Jungkook on stage, it has exactly that quality. He knows what he is doing. He is choosing to do it. He is clearly having an excellent time doing it. And Jungkook, who is theoretically a grown man and an extremely accomplished performer who should be able to handle this, absolutely cannot handle it, and the gap between what Jungkook theoretically should be able to handle and what he is visibly actually handling is where all the comedy lives. Let's also appreciate for a moment what this kind of spontaneous, unscripted interaction between the members actually represents in the context of a massive world tour production. The Arirang World Tour is an enormous logistical undertaking, 82 dates across multiple continents, sold-out arenas everywhere, production values that require months of planning and coordination, setlists that are carefully constructed and rehearsed, choreography that demands precision and consistency across show after show after show. In the context of all of that structure and all of that intentionality, the moments that are genuinely spontaneous, the moments where a member decides in real time to do something that was not in the rehearsal, to bring a specific energy to a specific person at a specific moment, are incredibly precious. They are the moments that remind audiences that behind the spectacular production, behind the polished performances and the perfectly executed staging, there are 7 real people who genuinely enjoy each other's company and who find ways to be completely themselves even in the middle of one of the biggest tours in the world. Jimin bringing Hwasa goodbye energy to Jungkook on stage is one of those moments. It was not in the set list. It was not choreographed. Nobody planned it. Jimin looked at Jungkook in that moment and decided, with the particular kind of creative instinct that lives somewhere between mischief and genius, to do exactly that thing. And the result was 27,000 likes and 1,800 saves and hundreds of comments and a viral moment that captured something true and real and irreplaceable about the specific chemistry between these two people. Now I want to talk about something that I think gets underappreciated in conversations about these kinds of fan-favorite moments between the members, which is what they reveal about the culture and the internal dynamics of BTS as a group. The fact that Jimin can do something like this on stage, can make that kind of spontaneous, pointed, deliberately chaotic choice in the middle of a massive concert production, and the fact that it generates joy rather than awkwardness or discomfort, tells you something about the health and the warmth of the relationships within this group. 7 people who have spent more than a decade together, who have been through everything that BTS has been through together, who know each other with the specific and irreplaceable depth of people who have shared genuinely extraordinary experiences. The quality of their interactions on stage is a direct reflection of the quality of their bonds off it. Jimin trusts that he can do this. Jungkook is genuinely responsive rather than performatively responsive. The audience can feel the difference between real and staged, and the reason 27,000 people liked this video in a matter of hours is because it felt real. It felt like a genuine moment between two people who have a real and specific and deeply warm relationship, one of whom decided to be spectacularly chaotic in a very targeted way, and one of whom responded with completely authentic uncertainty. That combination of real warmth and real chaos, happening on stage in front of a sold-out arena, captured on fancam and shared to the world. That is one of the things that makes BTS concerts unlike any other live music experience. You never know what you are going to get beyond the setlist. You never know when a member is going to do something completely unexpected that becomes the thing everyone is talking about the next day. And Jimin, perhaps more than any other member, has always had a specific and extraordinary gift for creating those moments. Let's spend some time on the broader context of this moment within the Ararang tour, because it exists within a larger pattern of the tour producing consistently extraordinary and consistently talked about moments. We have discussed in previous videos the nickname phenomenon, the way Jimin has been generating a new iconic name at every city. We have discussed the performance energy that had the coup placing him on a list with Kang Dongwon and Lee Youngjae. We have discussed the Gwangwaman comeback that turned people who had spent 10 years not being fans into instant converts. All of those are serious and significant moments of artistic recognition. And then there is this Jimin in full Hwasa goodbye energy, dancing directly at Jungkook having absolutely no idea what to do, and 27,000 people hitting like within hours because the joy of it was simply too immediate and too pure to resist. Both kinds of moments, the serious and the chaotic, the legendary and the delightfully silly, are essential parts of the full picture of what BTS is and what the Ararang tour is delivering. A performer who can bring you to tears with their commitment and their artistry, and who can also make you scream with laughter by deciding on a whim to bring Hwasa goodbye energy to their magne in front of a full arena. That is a complete artist. That is someone who has the full range. And Jimin has always had the full range. The Jikook legendary list and the Hwasa goodbye moment are not contradictions. They are two aspects of the same person, two expressions of the same fundamental completeness and freedom that characterizes everything Jimin does on stage. I also want to take a moment to appreciate how the original post that sparked this viral moment described what happened, because the framing of it as not Jimin dancing in front of JK like Hwasa's goodbye is such perfect internet energy. The nod at the beginning, that specific construction of pretending to be scandalized while being absolutely delighted, captures the community's response perfectly. Nobody was actually scandalized. Everybody was entirely here for it. The nod is not a protest. It is the specific, joyful internet language for something that is so good, so perfectly calibrated to make you feel a very specific kind of delighted overwhelm, that the only appropriate response is to express it as if it is almost too much while making very clear that you want as much of it as possible. That energy, that combination of mock protest and genuine delight, is one of the most recognizable and most beloved responses in ARMY culture to Jimin being specifically, deliberately, wonderfully chaotic. And the fact that this moment generated that response so immediately and so widely tells you everything about how perfectly it landed. Jimin looked at Jungkook, decided to do the thing, did the thing with complete commitment and obvious enjoyment. Jungkook had no idea what to do with himself, and the entire internet said not Jimin dancing in front of JK like Hwasa's goodbye while saving the video 1782 times. That is a perfect moment. That is the specific kind of perfect that only happens when real people with real chemistry and real history together are given a stage and the freedom to be completely themselves on it. And that is what the Ararang World Tour, at its best, is delivering night after night in city after city, not just the polished, spectacular, intentionally designed moments of artistic excellence, but also the raw, spontaneous, unplanned moments of genuine human connection between 7 people who have been through everything together and who still, somehow, after all of these years, know exactly how to make each other and their audience feel completely, wholly alive. Jungkook was not ready. He should have been ready, because after however many years of knowing ParkJimin, he should have known that something like this was always a possibility. But he was not ready, and that is okay, because none of us were ready either. We just had the advantage of watching it happen from the outside rather than having it happen directly to our face at point-blank range. And honestly, given how much joy this moment has brought to how many people, I think Jungkook being not ready was exactly the right outcome. We needed that reaction. The internet needed that reaction. And Jimin, as always, knew exactly what he was doing. Thank you so much for watching today's video. If you enjoyed it, please give it a thumbs up. It genuinely helps the channel grow and reach more ARMY who need this kind of joy in their lives. Drop a comment below telling me your reaction when you first saw this moment. Did you scream? Did you laugh? Did you do both simultaneously? And if you had to rate Jimin's chaos energy on a scale of 1 to Hwasa goodbye, where does this moment land? Subscribe if you have not already, share this with your fellow army, and I will see you in the next one. Purple you all.